Yo,
How's it going?
right. I didn't think I had any sound, but I have now. Right.
Someone asked what's the first question that's been put on
It's
the
just
line.
Dan being a fucking idiot. Standard. Right.
Do you coach people? Is that
Yeah,
true?
I do. Yeah, that's Dan Moore. That's Nick's brother.
Oh, hi
Yeah,
Dan.
he actually messages by the looks of it. Give your sister a shout. Tell me, fucking text me back.
True that.
No, she's been better recently, actually, seeing as the gym's opening soon. So,
Is that right? Oh, good old Nick. We love her.
I know. Right. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. So I thought we'd go back to the questions that we didn't get round to last time, even though we were on it for so bloody long last time.
Yeah.
But just clearly, we had so many questions. Also.
Exactly. Yeah.
All at once. So I think the one that kind of stood out that we didn't get round to was how would you recommend someone who has never done a deadlift starts off, which I think could be pretty directed at you.
It could be. Well, I would if I had some.
Would you go?
Okay, if someone came to me, first of all, you'd have to assess what style deadlift is going to suit them best, specifically because of obviously their biomechanics, and then
and if that was the case, let's broaden that out. Like, well, who's doing what? Is there a particular shape or size that you recommend to do certain deadlifts, or is it just purely their style of the way that they do something?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got long legs, you're going to struggle conventional. Mm-hmm. Your arm length doesn't really matter so much. Torso length doesn't really matter so much. So you see people who are like 6'5" doing conventional, and it's just like if you just went sumo, the range of motion is going to be like 40% less and so much more efficient. But people don't know how to. The thing is, I think sumo is a better thing to teach for people who have never done it because it's just going to use more muscles, and it's better for people playing sport as well, just because it's obviously working more hamstring, hip, glute, and it's safer on the back. I mean, obviously, I'd also say it depends on where their weaknesses are. But if they've never done it, you would just assume everything's weak. So that's actually not a bad thing because it's like you can bring everything up at the same time, rather than.
Well, I think predominantly what we find is that people have really weak posterior chains in it, really. So hamstrings, glutes. Is there I'm just throwing things out there for you to answer. Would you start with a particular bar? Would you start straight bar? Would you start trap bar? Is there a personal preference?
That's a good question. It depends on what they're deadlifting for. If they're just doing it because they want to lift weight off the ground, and there's no problem with a trap bar, I suppose, but it's not quite the same. The trap bar is good for leg strength, but not for overall total body power, really. It's probably all right for athletes, but I would say the wider you can stand, and this goes for squat as well, the better it's going to be. Because you can't use your hips if your legs are closed because you can't drive out. Yeah, I would just say stick to a straight bar. If you can get someone who can coach it and teach it well for you, then
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Knowing where the coach needs to know where your weaknesses are, because you're not going to be able to see that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but like I often used to do with people is if they struggle to do it from the ground, you just do it from blocks. So just raise the plates up 2 inches, 4 inches if they need to. Get used to the movement pattern, and then gradually lower it down as they get sort of stronger where they need to. But
I think I saw that with two clients in a relationship. One is 5'2", one is 6'7", and you're seeing the difference between both of them within their deadlift just because of the height difference between them. He's basically doing a deficit deadlift, and she's looking compact and easy to lift. So because she's shorter, and it's less far for it to travel.
Yeah. That's if you've got people that have got like a foot difference in height, that's going to be difficult for them to work together on the same bar. So yeah, that's, I mean, you can do it, but you're wasting a lot of time buggering around, sorting the plates out, blocks,
trying to make them, put them on a ramp, putting them off a ramp, stuff like that,
yeah.
Any exercises you recommend to someone who's never done deadlifts before?
Well, you can always, the back of your body needs to be twice as strong as the front, regardless. So build the shit out of your hamstrings and your spinal erectors and your upper back.
Yeah, I think obviously probably people have followed my kind of deadlift journey, and that's basically like the improvements that I've had to focus on most is back strength and hamstring strength, because they were the ones that, well, I had glute strength, that's what's lacked. Like my front half is pretty strong, but the reverse side of me is obviously needing to catch up and take over.
Well, if the front of your body's stronger than the back, you're going to get shoulder issues, you're going to get bad posture, you're going to have lower back issues eventually, you're going to get knee issues. So the back of your body has to be stronger than the front.
And that's just functional. That's not for a deadlift. That's just life.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people are weak in those areas because they don't, do anything for it. You can't see those muscles, so they're often neglected and forgotten. But they need to be twice as strong, really. So whatever you do to the front, do twice the volume to the back. That's a good sort of rule of thumb, really. That's what I'd say.
I suppose we'll stick with strength side of things. So we had a few, I think this came from one person, but it was, what's better for building muscle, eccentric or concentric? And is it better to do fast or slow reps?
I can't remember if that was from Anthony or if it was from Reese. I'm pretty sure that it was from one. I'm pretty sure it was from one of them. So if they see this, I will send you a video to watch that will explain what I'm going to explain a little bit better in depth as well. What's better for building muscle, concentric or eccentric?
So we explain eccentric and concentric.
So eccentric is the lowering of the weight or the stretching. So if you're doing a squat, it's going down, and the concentric is going up. Most of the muscle damage is caused in the lowering of the weight, and you are typically stronger in that range, but you need to raise the weight as well, because that's where you're going to get full muscle contraction. So you need to contract it fully and stretch it fully. I wouldn't say necessarily one is better than the other, because you need them both. But if you only had the option to do one or the other for some reason, I would say eccentric, because that's where the muscle damage is.
That's where you're going to grow.
Yeah. And then controlled fast reps or slow reps.
Yeah, and I think that's just dependent on what you're training for, really, isn't it? You're going to be more under tension if you're doing slow reps.
That's going to be better for building muscle. But if you're trying to be stronger, ultimately more sort of fast and explosive, then a controlled fast rep is what is the point.
And I think if you're just starting out training as well, then slower reps. Slow reps, more controlled reps, because you don't want to hurt yourself. Like that's a beginner's way of doing it. You don't want to do fast reps for them, it's these people that go straight into doing HIIT workouts as fast as they can. You're there going, are your joints stable enough to be able to handle that just yet? I think you need to do more to look after yourself before you start doing stuff.
If you can't support and stabilize the weight, then you're going to just injure yourself if you're doing it too quickly, because you won't be able to control it.
Which is why we tend, like gym instructors tend to put people on fixed resistance kit at the beginning, because of that whole stability purpose.
Yeah,
because
but then people will get so comfortable with the machines.
Yeah, you need to go off with it.
Machines build muscle; they don't build stability and motion. So I would almost start people. Well, you could start them.
I think when you see someone first start on dumbbells for the first time ever, it's probably the scariest thing as the person, and B, the trainer that's wobbling around all over the place. You almost have to get them used to that movement within a machine.
Yeah, and you can't really fuck up the machine. They're built in one way.
Yeah.
you know, you can't, I don't, you know, oh, you'll injure yourself. Well, if you get someone on a chest press machine or a shoulder press machine, you can't really do it wrong. And if you do, what are you fucking sitting on your head?
I think the only thing you can get wrong on any machine is not setting it up right.
Yeah,
like you see, you know, people on a chest press getting themselves like their knee, and then they get on after 6'7" guy done on a chest press and starts doing stuff like this.
Yeah, but that's, yeah,
you know,
I mean,
I know it's not going to hurt you, but it's not really going to do much.
No,
you know, like
it's just going to build the shit out of your front delts, and that's it. Which isn't the point necessarily. Well, no.
But yeah, you can see someone just causing themselves a mischief with it. Like lat pull down's my big one. People doing that wrong. But it's just set up, and that's what gym instructors are for. They just go to your friendly gym instructor and get them to tell you how to do it. You know, just don't assume when you get onto the machine that you know exactly what to do.
But there are multiple ways to use a machine, even if it's not the conventional way to do it. Like you see me do standing leg curls on a leg extension. If the tension applies and if the movement is allowed, you can do that. There are multiple ways to do certain machines if that's not what its original intent is for.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think it's just when they're trying to do the exercise that the machine is tokened for.
Well, that's fine.
You see some, you can see some sorts of shit.
Yeah. All right. What's your next one? Because your list is different in a different order to mine.
Is LISS worth doing? So LISS is low intensity, steady state cardio, basically.
If you're trying to get fitter for endurance sports, yeah, I would say there's no other.
I think that's the thing. Like, LISS to me would go into kind of the next question, which would be, what tips do you have for becoming more active in daily life? Like, LISS to me is your steady state stuff that you do, your NEAT training, your non-exercise training, like your stuff that you just do around the house. You're like that. You almost don't need. You're not training for that particular purpose. That kind of marathon training, swimming,
well, LISS,
duathlon, whatever.
The important part of LISS would be the low intensity part, which would be cycling, not overly intense, walking, and probably swimming, not running, because that's high impact and it's awful for you.
A lot of injuries to happen from running. Like I get, but like I'll play devil's advocate on that. Is that we agree that running is bad for you. It is bad for you. But obviously a lot of people get a lot of mental health benefits from running, and a lot of people get a lot of like joy from running, and that's fine. Happy to put up with the knee issues and lower back issues to come with it, crack on. I say. I think that's the conditioning part. You need to obviously look after those joints and knees, and do running as much as you need to have to, if that makes sense. If you want to get better at running and faster at running is not what you want to do for that. That brings us on to a question that we got, which was how to improve your speed on running. I mean, I can go straight into that now if you want. Yeah. So obviously, so we've got tips for increasing speed for running and sprinting, but also how do you jump higher? Now I can answer in one big go, both of those. It's going to get a bit technical. So if people are interested in how to run faster, jump higher, etc., grab a pen and paper. So I'll start with the jump high just because that's the order I've written it down, but it all links in anyway. So if you're looking to jump higher for a sport, obviously Kim sent me this, so she plays netball. Box jumps. I'm going to suggest you have 3 records to break for different height, either different heights or on the same height with weight. So have a body weight record, a record with 10% of your body weight in your hands, so either holding onto kettlebells or dumbbells or a weight vest or something, and then say 20% of your body weight. Obviously, as the weight goes up, the box height's going to drop, but you're going to have to generate more power to do that because you've got the external weight as well. So those would be 3 records I would say you'd want to try to have to beat to improve your straight up jump.
And then on top of that, for maintenance, do 2 sets of 20 jumps about twice a week at about 60% of what your record is. You with me? And if you can then jump higher, you can run faster. So that's a way to test your running speed, is if you can jump higher. Because the only difference between running and flying is ground contact, and that's overcoming gravity. You jump straight up, yeah? So that's how you overcome gravity, which will make you effectively run faster, so to speak.
Because you're more exposed.
When your foot's on the ground, you're not moving, yeah? Explosive power would be generated if you're doing an exercise that takes between, or sort of less than, between 0.2 and 0.3 tenths of a second. So if the exercise you're doing, if it's a squat or a jump or whatever, for some reason takes longer than that, you're not going to be generating explosive power. If you're doing it with 30 to 40% of a 1 rep max on a barbell exercise, that will for maximal speed in a squat, say, that will generate explosive power as well. Then when training squats, and she knows this because I've told her, you want to have a maximal effort squat day, because that's where you're going to be generating the most force. And you want to have a speed sort of dynamic squat day, because that's where you're going to be generating the most speed and acceleration. Yeah, force is what is going to propel you effectively. And as I said yesterday in my little video, force equals mass times acceleration. Yeah. I would want to vary the squat types that you're doing, because if you're doing the same squat over and over again, you're going to eventually get, less stimulus with it. It's all about, especially the dynamic stuff, it's all about kinetic energy. All right, so an analogy that I heard today, actually, but I've heard a few times, is quite good. Imagine you've got a 15-ton truck coming at you at 1 mile an hour. It weighs a lot, but it's not moving very fast. Yeah, if it hits you, it's not going to do anything. Okay, if you've got a 50 caliber bullet, which weighs 50 grams, coming at you at 3,000 feet per second, and it hits you, that's going to blow you. It's going to blow you in half. Why is that? Because of speed, acceleration, and kinetic energy. So it is important. Train the shit out of your hamstrings, because that's what extends the body. That's what makes you run, as well as your glutes and your abs as well. What else have we got? So then, specifically the running speed. Yes, obviously I've just said squats, the max and the dynamic. Test it with jumps. If you can jump higher, you can typically run faster. And then sled dragging. Power walking with a sled rather than running with a sled. And when I say a sled, I mean the one that we've used, not Prowler. Because every step you make is simulating the run effectively. You're pulling with the heel, generating force throughout the running muscles. So that's important there. A sprint is a max effort. You're generating maximal output when you're sprinting at max speed. So if you can get stronger, you will be able to get faster as well, because you're generating more force. Pretty much, as technical as that was, that pretty much covers briefly, how to jump higher and tips for increasing your speed for your running. You will get slower at running if you keep running, and you're going to get injured as well.
Yeah. I think
the only way to get faster is to stop running for a bit and do other activities. As much as people think, oh, I need to keep running to get better at running, you're gonna get slower. You need to change. You've got that weakness, so to speak. So you need to do something separate to target it. The main activity isn't going to target that weakness, because you wouldn't have that weakness if it did.
Well, that's the whole point of athletes doing off seasons, isn't it? Yeah. So off seasons is where you work on all these bits and pieces that you need to do the sport that you do, to have the gym sessions a little bit different to what you'd normally do in season, say.
But people like footballers and say rugby players or whatever, if they're part of their training is people making them run miles and miles and miles, you're turning a power athlete into an endurance athlete. You're training the completely wrong energy system. You need to get them stronger, to get them faster and more agile.
Well, I think you see that in professional training, don't you? They're doing depth jump tests, they're doing vertical jump tests, they're doing sprint tests, they're doing the stuff that, and they're doing the gym sessions. They're not just out and about doing football, rugby, whatever it is. They're doing the side note stuff.
If it was the running that made them a better athlete for that sport, why would they not just go and get marathon runners? You've got 11 people on the pitch that are weak as fuck, and 11 people on the pitch that are strong. The weak people are going to get hurt.
The strong people who can run a bit.
Exactly. You're not running miles at once. You need fitness and stamina, obviously, because you're exerting energy for an extended period of time. But at no point are you constantly running for miles and miles and miles. So training that is completely detrimental because you're training the wrong energy system. And this goes on to another question, which was CV before or after weights, and how will it impact the goals? Now, if you're training cardiovascular training and you do a sport, I would say be sport specific. If you're a 100-meter, a 200-meter sprinter, and your coach is saying, right, this is running, so every day you're going to run 10 miles, you're going to get you're completely training the wrong thing. You're not going to be doing what you need to do. If you're training with weights and you want to get fitter, doing long duration cardio is going to be completely detrimental as well. You can't bring up aerobic and anaerobic conditioning at the same time. They're opposing energy systems. You can't do them both. So what I would say is improve your training density. So by that I mean, if you're in the gym for 2 hours, you might only, most of that is probably resting. You might only be working out for 50 minutes, so just condense it more. Smaller rest intervals would be a way to do it, and things like supersets and stuff. You're going to get more conditioned like that, and it's actually going to be benefiting you and your sport.
Yeah, I think for me, basics of that cardio before weights thing is, say it's just a beginner in the gym. I always just say, what is the goal? Is it to lose weight quickly, or is it to get stronger and more toned? So I'd say, if it's stronger and more toned, then you want to be doing the weights first, because you don't want to be getting on some treadmill or bike at the beginning of your session and absolutely knackering out your muscles before you even started your weight session. So get the important thing out of the way that you're fresh and ready for. And I would then finish off on the cardio if you've got to do the cardio at the end. If that's the bit that makes you feel better, if you are looking to get a little bit of muscle, then do that afterwards.
Too much aerobic training will negatively impact your anaerobic training. So
you're not going to get any benefit from it.
If you're not an endurance athlete, stop training endurance cardio. If you enjoy it, then that's a different matter. But you're just going to be longing out your ultimate or your other goal, whatever that might be.
If you're looking to improve your endurance for a 5K or a marathon or whatever, then obviously the aerobic side of things is the important part of the workout. But then I would have weight only days. Where you go in and just do that weight training. You don't, because you're probably doing 3 or 4 running sessions a week, whatever. It's not my area of expertise, training for marathons or anything like that. But I know that there's short days and there's a long day, and things like that in your week. But then you want to work that weight training session to condition yourself away from the long run, around your
if you want to be a good runner or sprinter, learn how to do it properly so that your running economy and running efficiency is as good as it can be. And then you just have to get stronger. You have to be able to generate more strength, which is the be all and end all of it. More power and acceleration. Acceleration is important because about 70% of a 100-meter sprint is acceleration. The rest of it is maintenance. And maintenance is
trying to not slow down.
So the remaining 30% of that is maintaining that speed, which is strength and power. If you can get, if you're accelerating for 50% of the race and then maintaining that power and speed for the remaining 50, you're going to be winning that race 100% because you're at your top speed sooner and accelerating for less and not decelerating. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Sorry, we've had an intruder.
Has he got a question?
Yeah, can I have my tea, please?
Well.
Oh, brilliant. Obviously, we're talking about running.
Yeah.
And I think one of the questions was, I think that was from Kim as well, saying about she works core, well, abs, I'm assuming 4 times a week or core 4 times a week, and doesn't feel like it's supported when she runs.
Yeah, I read her question a couple of times, and then I brought her up on it and said, I still don't really understand what you're asking. So then I sort of spoke to her, and then I did answer the main part of it. But then what I said was, I mean, you can still answer it as well. As I said, I would just basically say, as much as I hate the word core, so I'm not going to use it, train your abs every day. If you've got strong abs, you won't have any lower back issues. Obviously, if you're running a lot, there's a lot of impact on your joints, so you're going to get back issues. But if you can keep your abs strong and braced for as much as you can naturally, then that will take pressure off it. And learn how to brace properly. Flexing your abs isn't bracing. You can have a six-pack and have a weak stomach. It doesn't mean you've got a strong stomach. It just means you've got a low body fat percentage. Bracing your abs is pushing out, filling your belly with air. That's why you use a belt. The more intra-abdominal pressure you have, or ab pressure you have, the less spinal pressure you have. So that's why it's important. A lot of people think the belt is to stop your back from rounding. That's not true. It's not going to happen. It's to brace against. That's the point of a belt. I'm not suggesting you run with a belt. I'm saying if you want something to help you brace as much and as effectively as you can, a belt will help you. It doesn't have to be a big, thick powerlifting belt. Something is better than nothing. You can brace without a belt, but you can feel the brace a lot more with a belt. I mean, I think I like hanging leg raises for ab work because it stretches out the hip flexors and the entire abdominals at the same time, which work at the same time when you're running, walking, squatting, when you're doing anything that involves your upper legs moving. So that's why I think it's a good one. And it can correct some sort of pelvic tilt a little bit as well if you're weak in that area.
I think a lot of issues is when people say they're going to train their core or their abs.
And do twists.
They're doing the same things to focus on one particular area, and it's usually too many ass sit-ups. And I think it's trying to train all of your abs, because I think people just think that this is the abs, and it's like that's not all it is. You need to be doing your obliques and as you say, your rector spinae and things like that. Like obviously they're in your back, but that's still a trunk. It's a trunk movement. You need to strengthen every part of your trunk rather than just your abs.
So the further away from the middle part of your body the weight can be, the more stress on your abs is going to be. So if you can do really awkward things and get strong in awkward positions, you'll be much stronger in a more normal position. So like a Zercher squat or a deadlift to the side, like as in hold the bar to your side and holds like that and stuff. That is tremendous for pure abdominal power. The Zercher squats, unbelievable.
Thoughts on like farmers walks, like carries and things like that? Before,
I mean, there's not necessarily, there's no direct core work necessarily. I mean, there is obviously going to be some for stability of your spine, but
I'd say that you'd have to brace a lot when you're lifting something.
That's just farmers walks will overload the whole body, in fairness. But I mean, things that's going to mean basically, if you can do an exercise that's going to stop you or that's going to want you to either be bending over and you have to resist that to the side, back or forwards, that's where all the abdominal strength is going to come from, because it's stopping the flexion of the spine. So, like a Zercher squat, if you're holding the bar in your elbows, that wants to pull you down. You have to keep that up, keeping it strong, as well as that will just attack your entire back as well, not so much your legs. So
I think you find that with it, like you change the position of any weight. This is, as you said, wherever the weight transfer is, you want to put to the side, to the front, to the back. You work different areas of your body because you're going to work your back, your abs, your core in different ways. Because people just stick with kind of squats with straight bar back, That's it. That's all we do.
Yeah.
So
that's why having speciality bars, especially for the squat, is important, because it changes the leverages. It changes the position of the spine. Especially that's why the safety squat bar is good, because it wants to pull you over. So if your back is weak, that's going to target your back probably more than it's going to target your legs.
Which is what I do find with most of my clients, because most people have weak ass backs. So it's that constant thing of them sitting like this in a squat, and suddenly put the safety squat bar on them, and they're like, I have to drive
into it. But if you get them doing front squats or Zercher squats, they'll have to do that even more, because if they don't, it's going to fall off them and it's going to literally pull them over. Yeah. So I mean, you could do that. You could work away just with a straight bar. You know, you could do 3 weeks with a straight bar. 3 weeks. I'm not talking like variations with boxes and stuff. 3 weeks with a straight bar. 3 weeks front squat. 3 weeks Zercher squat. 3 weeks overhead squat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can just keep rotating that. You don't need a speciality bar to get different stimulus. But you will get a hell of a lot of different stimulus from just doing that.
The bar has changed position at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter what bar it is. Yeah. So,
exactly. And it changes the starting position of the hips and the spine as well. So it's just working differently. So variation is so important. Yeah.
With variety with bars brings me on to deadlift grips.
Yeah.
So can you go through different types of deadlift grip? What are the benefits? Yeah. Is there a recommendation for certain people to use certain things, or is it just a case of what it is for the lift itself?
I wouldn't say, I don't know if I can answer if there's a better grip for certain people. The four main grips I suppose grips, so to speak, you have would be double overhand, mixed grip, hook grip, and then with straps. So double overhand is just your typical hands over the bar like you normally would, but you're going to be limited to how much you can lift with that, because the bar's going to want to open your hands up. The bar's going to want to roll out of your hands as it gets heavier. So you're going to be just purely limited by grip there. But it's probably the safest and just the most straightforward. Mixed grip obviously is when you have one hand facing behind you. It's going to stop the bar from rolling, so you will be able to hold more and grip more. However, the hand that's facing forwards, you typically see a lot of people rip their biceps completely off because it's in a compromised position. And if you only do it like that, just say you only deadlift like that and you don't have any bicep issues, if you keep the same hand forwards the whole time, then you'll get an imbalance in your back. You're not going to be developing your lats quite the same. So if you can alternate between maybe day to day or even set to set, if you insist on doing mixed grip, that'll be better. Hook grip is probably one of the best ones. It's also painful as fuck, because basically what you do is you jam. So imagine my fingers the bar. You put your thumb over and then your fingers over the thumb. Now what you're doing is you're effectively squashing your thumb in between the bar and your hands. I've never really done it, but I might start to try to incorporate it, although it is painful, but you just deal with it. And then the other one is just with straps, which will slightly change the lift ever so slightly, but it takes a bit of time to set the straps up, but you haven't got to worry about grip. At the moment I lift with straps, but those are I'd say the sort of main. I don't know if there's any other ways you can really deadlift. You wouldn't deadlift both reversed, because that's just dumb.
Don't think I've ever seen anyone do that.
I mean,
done rows like that and things like that.
If you want to build the shit out of your grip, you can either use an axle bar or a fat bar, or put fat grips on the bar and just do it like that, and then you haven't really got to worry.
That's just general life for me.
Yeah.
Just holding a bar.
That's why my deadlift.
Unless I've got yours.
That's why my deadlift bar of yours was your best. My deadlift bar was your best friend because it was thin.
Because it was thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. obviously, is there, for deadlifts themselves, would you say there's an optimal place to have your hands on the bar when you are deadlifting?
Where at the end of the day, it's all going to be, and this goes to foot stance as well, wherever you feel most comfortable and where you feel is most natural for you, and where you're going to feel like you can probably hold and lift the most. Typically, it's just going to be if your hands are straight, your arms are just straight down. The wider you go, the less you'll be able to lift, but the more, well, it'll increase the range of motion because you have to go further down, and it's going to build the shit out of your upper back more. So it's like a snatch grip. So the wider you go.
Yeah.
So it depends on what for.
What
Obviously, if you go a wide grip, you would have to do 2 overhand or with some sort of strap. You wouldn't be able to do mixed grip, like super wide. Well, you could, but that would just be, you wouldn't be able to lift much, and that'd be pointless.
Okay, we'll switch it up a bit. I was going to go back to the whole the more active lifestyle question.
Yeah, I was just looking at those.
Just because obviously it's something that probably in the last 50, 60 years, general population activity has kind of gone down. Yeah. And it's due to obviously people sitting down a lot more, getting in cars a lot more, being lazy, not having very active jobs, sitting on the train instead of biking, but I think, and convenience of everything, isn't it? Like the internet is your friend. It delivers food for you, so you don't go to the shops. You get takeaway. The takeaway can be delivered to you. You know, you don't go out as much. And I think that was obviously then relays into nutrition, where people don't really cook anymore. But that's a completely different question to be answered. But I think people need to realise how important that non-exercise activity is in grand scheme of things. I think the last Q&A we spoke about like resting and metabolic rate, and how like you need a certain amount of calories. I think we did it in one of our episodes where we said like you need this many calories just to sleep and breathe.
We covered that in episode 3, which we'll upload on Wednesday.
Right. So you need a certain amount of calories in a day just to breathe and sleep and lie down and do nothing. And then you do your exercise, which is actually, so they say that's about 60% of your calories. And then they're saying exercise is kind of 10% of your calories. So you kind of go, well, how am I gonna burn most of this off? And it's actually that this 30%. There's another 10% from somewhere else. I'm not even going to bother talking about that. But the 30% coming from NEAT. So this non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is basically what you do in your general life, because you're only exercising let's say it's me and you, it's only about an hour, 2 hours long. Some people it's half an hour, depending on the intensity of exercise, whatever. So there's another 20 odd hours in the day that you need to burn calories, especially if you're looking to lose weight. And people aren't getting up and doing anything, which is where this whole thing during lockdown has been all about. You know, personal trainers all over the world are going steps. You know, you've got to get your 10,000 steps in a day. And ultimately, yes, that's true. Like but that's the way that trainers are approaching it, saying, yes, you need to get 10,000 steps a day because we need you to move. Because some people are getting like 2,000-3,000 steps a day and it's rubbish. But ultimately, you don't have to do steps. You know, you can dance, you can do the housework, you can, you know, it. Like people just don't. People are sitting on their arse all day looking at their phones, compared to what people in the good old days would do. Is, you know, they're walking to the bus, they're walking to school, that's how people lost weight, and people are there going, why am I not losing weight? While they're sat there doing this on their phone all day. You're there going, well, because you don't get up and get moving. You know, there are some of my clients that are sitting on their ass from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and they're saying because of work.
I can't lose weight.
Well, guys, not doing get up. Move.
They're sat at home tweeting, why can't I lose weight? While they're sat doing nothing, and they've just ordered the Mackies.
That's it, rather than going out and getting that Mackies if they have to go out to do that, you know. So I think, you know, our jobs in particular are kind of stood up we walk around. It's kind of an automatic thing that we do, you know. And even if we find ourselves sat down for a long period of time, like we'll get up and walk around and do things.
Lounging on the leg press.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, you know, chilling out. You know, but at least you stood up, kind of. But like we're always like people park really close to the supermarket or park really close to where they need to go. Like just little things, parking a bit further away from where you are.
So they haven't got to walk so far. Well, maybe do park further away, so you have got to walk a bit further. You know, I mean, it won't make much difference, but if you do it every time you go shopping, it will make a bit more.
It builds up. It builds up. I think the invention of all this smartwatch, Fitbit, stuff like that is good for majority of people, because it makes you realise how little that you walk, especially when you compare it to people like me and you or whoever who are without having to wear these things, we're just moving around and getting things done. Whereas they suddenly look at their Fitbit or smartwatch or whatever it is and going, Christ, I really don't move. It's like, well, that's just simple. Like that's a 16 hour, like you're asleep for what, 8 hours, you sleep for 8 hours and you're awake for 16 hours. What are you going to do with those 16 hours? Because you really didn't, if you can't get to the gym, it's not the end of the world. If you're staying active within your life, then you're going to lose weight.
That's the point that either we made on the last live or we did it on one of the episodes, is there's 24 hours in a day. You sleep 8, that leaves you 16. You work 8, that leaves you 8.
But you can still move around. If you want to.
You've got 8 hours to play with. You know? So.
I keep saying to people like that say, I sit down all day. I'm in meetings. I think people's lives have got really difficult during lockdown, especially for those working from home, because people just book in back-to-back meetings on these bloody Zoom calls, and they're not able to even just get up and go to the toilet and things like that. And I'm like, well, then you need to put your foot down. You need to prioritize your own health to be able to get up off the chair and move around and do things. I spend a lot more time in front of the laptop than I ever used to, but the priority is every hour I get up for at least 10 minutes and just walk around. And then at lunchtime, get up, go for a longer walk, or after work, go for a longer walk. I don't have to worry about that too much because I get to go to the gym now and walk around the gym doing work. But before, in lockdown, you have to get up and move around. But people aren't prioritising that. They're prioritising their job and doing back-to-back meetings and things like that. So get up and do some activity. Even when you finish, as you say, if you finish your daily job and you've been sat down for 8 to 10 hours, still, that's your opportunity to get up and go for a walk. Because you can get 10,000 steps done in an hour and 15 minutes. Done. Come sit back down again, and then enjoy your weekend. But I think people that say they can't move enough.
People who say they haven't got time to do it, that's bollocks.
Right.
You're just being lazy.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Stop being so fucking lazy and get up and do something. No one's going to make it happen for you. So,
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was I did a step challenge for my team in May. And the person that won the step challenge was in her 60s, come out of retirement, had 2 jobs, one in a care home, one vaccining all day, driving to Slough and back 4 times a week. And then she's still winning. She was close enough to my step camp for the month. And I'm there going, why are the rest of you not doing that many steps when she's getting that many steps? Because she was getting home and going, oh, I haven't moved enough today, because all she's done is walked forwards and backwards in this little vaccine room, not getting any steps. And then she's gone, oh, I need to move. And she's gone out and prioritised it, and that's the problem. People just don't prioritise what they want. And that's the easy stuff that you can do.
It is. It's all a matter of priorities as well. It's just, if you don't prioritise something that you need to achieve, it's not going to happen, or something you want to achieve, shall I say. I can't get down to the gym, haven't got time. Well, it's obviously not that important to you, because you make time if you want it. Otherwise, don't waste everyone else's time.
I think that brings us on to the goal setting question.
How can you create suitable goals to achieve and stick to?
Yes. Obviously, we did a couple of weeks, did an episode out regarding goal setting, but we will go into this a little bit. And I think what you just said is, prioritize what you want to achieve. Like, what is the priority? If your priority is to lose weight, then you need to set up a goal that's, if it's that particular amount of weight or a particular size that you want to be, or measurements that you want to have, then you need to put that in writing to yourself when you're going to achieve it by, and how you're going to achieve that goal. You know, I think we went through that massively in the episode. If you want it enough, you'll go do it, and you will have to put the added work in.
Exactly.
You know, getting that movement in and getting into the gym if you need to. You know, so and eating the right way if it's a weight related goal. I think goals we obviously determined were one of the most important things to have, because it's there to push you to achieve what you want. There's no point in going into a gym or whatever without an idea of why you're there.
Exactly.
There's also a reason you join the gym. And if it's to feel better about yourself, it's like, what will it do? What is the thing that's going to make you feel better? Write it down. Because that's what's going to keep you motivated to do it.
But like, I mean, a lot of people say, like, I want to achieve this, that, and the other, but I don't like the gym, so I can't do it. It's like, it doesn't have to be done in the gym. It doesn't have to be done, you know, in any sort of sports environment. It doesn't have to be. It can be, as you say, dancing, or, you know, if it's just going for walks or cycling or something like that. It doesn't have to be what people might necessarily automatically think.
Well, yeah, so, like, find the hobby that you're passionate about and do it. Like, you know, as you say, could be, you know, dancing, netball, climbing, hill walking, ice skating, whatever. Like, whatever's going to get you moving. Because as we say, that's actually the most important thing. What's going to keep you moving? You know, we talk about kind of squats and deadlifts and stuff like that all the time, because that's just the environment that we're in, and that's what we are passionate about, and that's what we enjoy. We're not saying that you have to deadlift to lose weight or achieve goals. It's finding the thing that's going to get you out of bed or out of the house to make you happier. Because it's usually what's going to make you happy is the thing that you're going to do the most of. You know, if you don't like the gym, then don't do it. Like, find something else that you enjoy.
You know, do something. You know, get started somewhere. It doesn't have to. And don't get overwhelmed by doing too much at once. You know. No, find that goal. Like, it's creating suitable goals for you to achieve. You're not going to achieve something that you don't enjoy. No.
Like at the end. So.
And if you feel like you're being forced into doing something, then you're going to not have any interest in it. So you're not going to put any effort into it. So don't waste time doing something that's either not what you need to do or what you want to do or what you enjoy or whatever. So it's just find what works for you as well. You know? And that comes with time and experimentation as well. I mean, you're not necessarily going to find the right thing straight away. But some people do, some people don't. Or some people find something that they weren't originally going for and think, actually, I love this, I'm going to stick with this. So your goals might change, you know? I
think the other thing is, if you're not passionate about what it is you're doing, then there has to be a purpose to it. So if you're, let's say, trying to lose weight and you're having to do a little bit more cardio than you wanted to, at least, but you're wanting to lose weight, so there's a purpose to why you're doing that, you know, then okay, you're not passionate about it, but then the focus is, right, I know that once I've done this, it will get me to where I want to go. So it might, so rather than being passionate about it, you can be more focused to achieve what you want. And then you can ultimately go, see you later once you've done that. You can go, right, I've done that, so I need to do that again. As long as you just don't get yourself back into the mess that whatever, you know, before, it might not be a mess, but like whatever you were before that you weren't happy with, don't get yourself back there and you won't ever have to do it again. So I think it's just find a purpose or find what you're passionate about, because that's where you're going to stick to what goals that you've set yourself. I think so. What else have you got? Nutrition question.
Yeah, we can't really answer too much about that.
No.
Well, I mean,
it's a hard one. So the question was, how much protein should you have?
And
is it dependent on age, height, weight, and goals? And I'd say
I would say
yes, and yes.
Oh, really? I was just going to answer it and say you should eat as much as you need to grow and recover. you know, we have no place to tell you what to eat and how much exactly to eat. The only people that can do that really are dietitians, nutritionists, and doctors. No one else should. Oh, unless someone came to us with a history of blood tests and recent blood tests that they've had done with their GP, and they've been to someone else and said these are the list of things that we could have, blah blah blah. Then we could probably help a bit more, but we can't give diet plans.
Can't give diet plans, no. I think the override thing is the importance of protein in your diet, which is, as you say, you need enough to grow and recover and repair. So that means eating enough protein. That means getting protein into your diet, and I think people don't eat enough of it. Like, that's just a personal opinion.
Eating sufficient protein is what retains your muscle that you have as well. You know, if you build the muscle that you want, and you get to where you are muscularly, if that's a word, you don't then just think, right, I'm where I want to be. Now I'm just going to stop eating the protein. You need to keep at least maintaining the amount you were having for it to stay, otherwise it will go.
I think people need to be very aware of the, you know, well, I've learned in my time that eating protein does all those things, but it's also one of the hardest things to digest in the body. So you actually burn more calories by eating protein. So again, that brings me on to that last 10% of what I said earlier. So we had the 60, 30, 30. 10% is eating food, is the other way you burn calories. And protein is actually the hardest one to digest, because you don't actually digest it in your mouth, you digest it in your stomach and your small intestine. So it's how it's then, if you get more of that into your diet, you're burning more calories and then you're creating more lean muscle tissue. Yeah. So again, burning more calories, because the more muscle you have, less fat you have, you're going to burn more, because your body's having to work harder because you've got muscles rather than body fat. Yeah. The whole, depending on age, height, weight, and goals, I would say if height and age, not too sure. I would say weight and goals, yes. Because I think if you're obviously trying to bodybuild or you're strength training, then you need to eat way more protein than someone who's just trying to keep toned. Yeah. So it is dependent on what you're wanting to achieve. But again, something that me and Jake and most personal trainers should not be telling you what to do. It's down to a dietitian to tell you what to do, because they're the qualified.
But a lot of just generic PTs will give people diet plans, because the client doesn't know any different or any better, and the trainer just wants their money. If people are giving you diet plans, like strict diet plans, and they are not, as I say, a doctor, a dietitian or a nutritionist, then walk away.
Well, the highest level I go to is giving a suggested calorie intake and a suggested breakdown of macros. That's literally as far as I go. I don't want to go any further than that, because it's not fair. And I don't like giving the restriction either. That's not how I work as a trainer. I try
to stay away from it if I can. But if I know if I can give some input, but I try not to get too involved with that, because
I you know, for me, nutrition is down to the basics. You know, portion size, moderation of food. Like I'm a person that goes, eat what you want, but don't, you know, everyone knows what the bad stuff is. You know, no one's an idiot. Like it's put in front of you every day, like what's good, what's bad. And usually even the stuff that people think that is good, you know, you see all these bloody Mars protein bars, and you actually find out they're worse than anything that you could possibly eat, and the only reason that they sell is because they've got the word protein on them. It's similar to way back when we used to see low fat, low sugar, and it was just covered in crap, you know, like preservatives, food additives, all that stuff. So it's having natural food sources, you know, chicken, vegetables, all that stuff, and then enjoying the bad stuff in moderation. So your alcohol, your chocolate, your crisps, whatever, don't remove them from your diet. I think that's the biggest thing. People are like, what, especially when they have a personal trainer, it's like, what can I have? Oh, I can't have that because it's bad. And they're going, God, no.
Live a bit.
That's not how it
Yeah, I
works,
mean,
you know?
rather than, like I've said to you, I think before, don't think of a specific unhealthy meal as, right, it's a cheat meal. Think of it as an earned meal. It's like, have I earned the right to have this? If I look in the mirror and I look at myself and think I'm not happy with how I look, don't have it. Give it another week and then see how you feel. You're not going to look much different in a week, but see how you feel. You know, if you've eaten perfectly for 3 months in a row without fail every meal, having the large Dominoes is going to benefit. It's going to benefit you. It's not going to be detrimental. It's going to kickstart your metabolism. It's going to give you some nutrients that all the good stuff doesn't, and it's just going to make you feel good. You know.
That's it.
So.
And that's why I keep saying to people, it's not like, don't restrict yourself, because it just makes you feel shit. You know, you feel like you can't have anything, and then what's the point of living? You know, like.
Yeah, exactly. It's
okay,
like,
if you're training something specific, let's say a bodybuilding competition or an athlete competition or whatever, then fair, you've got to make those sacrifices. But if you're just living life,
I was just about to say, 99.99% of people aren't competing and training to be stood on stage and judged at how they look. So don't worry about having a burger every now and then.
I can.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
should we call it a day, because it's about to hit 5 o'clock?
It is about to hit 5 o'clock. We're trying to keep it to an hour, guys. Trying to be good. To do a 95-minute Q&A again. Cool. So we're going to try and do these every month. So next one's due Sunday, the 4th of July.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, yeah. As of now, we'll provisionally put it in for them, but that might change. But who knows? Cool.
All right, mate. Well, look out for our episode coming this Wednesday. It's all about recovery.
All right. Sweet. See you later.
Okay, mate. See you later.